Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about Andrew Callaghan's video in response to all of the allegations. I made a video prior discussing those allegations, so if you don't know what's going on, that's linked down below so you have context as to what I'm responding to here. One thing I do want to say about this response video is that there is the implication of an apology, and we'll get into all of that. The apology is obviously not for me to accept. It's directed to and solely for the victims. So whatever I critique here is not me accepting or rejecting an apology, because there is none made to me. I just want to be clear about that right off the bat.
All right, I never thought I'd make a video like this, but I think there's an important conversation to be had, and I just want to be fully accountable, honest, and transparent with all of you guys. So I'd like to start by thanking every single person who's came out in the past week to speak about different ways in which my behavior has made them feel uncomfortable or pressured during a sexual situation, and to people who said that I've made unwanted advances and had a hard time with rejection. I'm sure this was not easy to do. It's never easy to speak out, and it was hard for me to hear as well, because to be honest with you, up until this point, I didn't even really realize that I had this pattern that had affected multiple people. I'd also like to apologize for my silence. I think that when this stuff first came out, I was in a state of denial and shock. I was, just riding the high from my movie that just came out. And then within 48 hours, I was denounced by my closest collaborators. And my name was printed in 40 different news outlets next to the words sexual misconduct. And I just kind of spiraled into a mental health crisis. I'm okay now, but I don't really think this is about me. So
in this first minute and like 13 seconds, a couple of things stand out to me. Now, this video is a total of 4 minutes and some. The length of an apology, response, whatever you want to call it, for me is not super important, so long as the thought process, the feeling, whatever it is that you want to put out there, comes through. Now, obviously, I'm not in his head, don't know what he was going for, because this did not pan out, in my opinion. Spoiler, I think this is a nothing response, apology, whatever. But anyway, there is this very heavy focus on himself, and he brings it up himself saying this isn't about me. And it's like, well, you just spent a fourth of the video talking about you. So, and also to some extent, it really is about you, because it is your behavior that made people feel uncomfortable, that did qualify as sexual misconduct. It's this behavior, yours, that has resulted in this situation. So to say that it's not about you feels like a way of being like, I don't want to make it about me. And it's like, that's a cop-out here though, because not making it about you would be convenient, right? Because that includes actually taking accountability, as opposed to saying, oh, I'm taking accountability, which you can say anything. I could say that my skin is green, doesn't make it true. Accountability takes, first of all, realizing what you did wrong, sure, but it also takes action, changing, so on and so forth. That obviously is not something we can judge entirely right now, because going forward, Callaghan might change for the better. Who the fuck knows? So I can't say anything for later on. As of now, the taking of accountability, the step one of realizing what went wrong, if you're starting the video and a quarter of the video is just about how you've been doing, in terms of optics, I don't think that looks good. The other thing is, mentioning mental health is a little bit of a double-edged sword in a lot of these cases, because as much as it is your experience, what you went through with your mental health, the crisis he allegedly had, you're obviously allowed to talk about that. You can say whatever you want. In this particular situation, though, you gotta realize that a lot of people here are not focused on how you're doing. And as cold as that might seem to a perpetrator, an alleged perpetrator, whatever you want to call it, as cold as that may seem, really rerouting the attention to how you're doing, your mental health crisis, maybe that should be done at a different time. Maybe even a time when you yourself are doing better, for your own well-being, to not immediately put out there how you're doing when something is so relatively fresh in terms of it happening recently. I don't know if it's the body language, I don't know if it's the way in which he's speaking, I don't know if it's the lowered tone of voice, the lack of blinking, basically. All of these things to me seem a little bit robotic. And of course, it's a stressful thing to make a video like that, I'm assuming. So of course, I don't expect someone to be in their showman behaviors, but it comes off as very stoic. The other thing that I think we all collectively know that I don't have to say, but I'm gonna say, lawyers looked over this. This is not a from the heart, unprocessed apology. And by unprocessed, I mean this went through people, this went through drafts. Now, there's nothing wrong with writing down what you think, what you want to say. It's a different thing when it's like a public statement as opposed to me talking to you, right? So this very much to me came off as when celebrities are in scandals and their publicists write something for them to say, kind of like that. Again, that's just my perception. I could be entirely wrong.
This is about the people that I've affected. So I just want to express my complete sympathy, respect, and support for anyone who I've done wrong by. And I really want to do better and be fully accountable for everything that I've done. So that being said, I want to make a few things clear. I've always taken no for an answer. As far as consent, I've never overstepped that line. But, I think I want to have a more nuanced and important conversation about power dynamics, pressure, and coercion. Because, like I said, I think for a long time, I was behaving in a way that I actually thought was normal. I thought that, going home from the bar alone made you a loser. I thought that persistence was a form of flattery. And I thought that, if at first somebody was reluctant, they're playing hard to get, just try harder. And if you think someone's feeling you, make a physical advance and see if they go with it. And I think that especially I realized when so many young people, especially young men, rushed to defend me when this stuff first started coming out, that this type of sex pest behavior is normalized. And a lot of people think this stuff is normal when I don't think that it is. And I think that I want to be fully responsible for not having a fluid understanding of consent and what enthusiastic two-way consent looks like. That being said, a lot of the things that have been said online about me are not true. A lot of things are missing really important contextual information that I think would change people's interpretation of a lot of these situations, but I'm not here to invalidate anybody's lived experience.
One thing I will agree with is that there is very much this concept of, I'm going to put this in a heteronormative lens because what we're talking about is men attracted to women here specifically, and also the example I'm going to use is going to be heteronormative because I'm not going to get into societal commentary. Anyway, so basically there is this lens that is applied on reality, but movies and shows especially. Like growing up in movies and shows, you see the guy going after the girl typically, right? And a lot of the times the girl will be shown in a very typical feminine stereotype, which isn't bad if you're like this, but this stereotype can be hurtful in situations like this because the woman, the girl, whatever, the female character is probably shy, probably scared to say how she feels, probably is holding back her emotions a little bit because she doesn't want to fall too fast for the dreamy guy, whatever. And the guy is persistent. The guy keeps going after her. He stops at nothing. This is an archetype. This is a storyline we've all seen a billion times, right? And I think it is ingrained in us to kind of expect that. The problem is once you take one of these little storylines of pursuing the girl or as the girl running away and hoping to be pursued, if you take these and run with them without applying them to a situation in particular, because every situation is going to be different, every response to that is going to be different, some women will like that, some men will like that, some men won't. You gotta tailor things to what is going on. And I feel like very often we see people just running with this narrative of the guy has to run behind the girl. And it's like, if the girl is running away from you because she's scared, because she's not interested, because she doesn't like you, you are not supposed to follow her in that case. But I do understand what he's bringing up. That doesn't mean I justify his behavior because you're supposed to understand the nuance there. You're supposed to understand that, first of all, that's in movies and shows and those aren't really representative of reality. But aside from that, you also have to apply that where it makes sense. And I think that one of the core things of being an adult, that you learn being an adult as well, is to have these difficult types of conversations. So if you don't know if she's into you and you don't know if you should chase her, how about just talking to her? How about just having a conversation of, are you interested? Do you want to pursue a relationship, or whatever together? Being very clear-cut about things isn't a bad thing if you don't know what's going on, or even if you have a minimal doubt. I understand that the way that society works is part of this conversation, but when it comes to personal accountability, you don't get to blame the world, you don't get to blame the movies. You got to learn this by yourself.
If you feel pressured, that's just what it is. I hope that young people and young men in particular can use my mistakes to learn and move through life with a better understanding of consent. As far as what I have planned I'm not really sure what comes next. I mean, obviously, reporting is my one true love, and I'm 25 years old and I have my whole life ahead of me. But I really think that I need to do some serious work on myself and figure myself out. So I'm going to start therapy sessions pretty much immediately. Also, not to blame alcohol, but I truly believe that alcohol was a contributing factor to my poor decision making. And I think that alcohol in general has had a devastating impact on my life. So I think I'm going to make the decision to join the 12-step program for Alcoholics Anonymous. And during this journey into sobriety, I want to take a serious step back from public life. And like I said, figure myself out. And I hope that this reaches the ears of anyone who's felt affected by me. I'd love to reach out to you, or you can reach out to me, even just for me to say, I'm sorry. And I really apologize, and I appreciate you all. I also want to apologize to my closest collaborators, my friends, my family, and people who will have to wear this stain on their career forever. You guys don't deserve this, and I love you guys. That being said, if you never want to watch Channel 5 again, I understand. I hope you remember the missions of radical empathy and media literacy that we have tried to put into the world through our coverage. All right, that's all I want to say.
Interestingly enough, what I read, frankly, as most genuine out of all of this was what he was saying about his coworkers having this stain on their careers and having worked with him, putting them in a bad place career-wise, because being associated with someone like that obviously is not ideal. And frankly, that sounded a lot more genuine to me than anything said towards the victims, about his behavior. As a whole, I cannot shake the feeling. I cannot absolutely in any world convince myself that any of this was genuine. I did not think it was a strong apology, if you even qualify it as an apology, because he did throw in a few I'm sorry's there, but it's kind of the difference between saying I'm sorry I did this and I'm sorry you felt that way. Now, obviously, if lawyers are involved, they're not really gonna want him to be like, yeah, I fucked up, I pressured you into doing this, I did this and I did that, because obviously he'd be admitting to it. So saying I'm sorry I made you feel that way is the way around admitting to it, but also sounding empathetic. And it's like, that didn't translate for me. I didn't buy it. Like I said, at the end of the day, while I can critique this, what's most important is the victims, how they feel about it, whether they accept it or not. All of that is the key point, right? Because this message was meant for them and I guess for his crew of Channel 5 or whatever. So remember I'd shown an account by the name of Moldy Freckle? Well, she posted a response to his response. It's about 10 minutes long. I will link it down below. Strongly suggest you watch it to see from an inside perspective. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.